Hello, I'm Derek Smalls, and you're watching, or listening, or both, to Rock Shop Live with Eric Broadbent. He's the Bent Broad.
You're watching Rock Shop Live, brought to you by Stewart Travel Guitars. See the incredible stowaway travel guitar at stewartguitars.com. Microphones for Rock Shop Live are provided by Rode Microphones. Now, for Music Gear Network, here's your host, guitarist Eric Broadbent.
Hey everyone, a happy Monday evening to you all. Welcome to Rock Shop Live and a special Patreon supporters edition. This is going to be something that we're going to be doing probably once a month over the course of the next forever. It's very nice to have some of our great Patreon supporters from around the world, and we're representing multiple countries here this evening. We're going to be getting a chance to know some of these people, and it's kind of nice for us and the family here as well too, getting to know a little bit more about them. Some we've become close personal friends through Facebook and other social medias. Other times we just chat occasionally, but we're going to get to know a lot more about everybody. And we want to give a big thank you to Sandra Lee for arranging this. I was telling the guys off the air here that I come up with a million ideas, and every time I do, they all flop. And I'll go to her and I'll say, I got this idea. She goes, no. And then she tells me an idea, hence tonight, and we're here. So around the table here, we've got a bunch of people. I'm not sure how it looks on your screen. I'll tell you on my screen, upper left, we've got Carlo Santin here from Canada, PaulSurraAZ, and he'll tell us whereabouts he lives in a little bit, Eamon Wyse, Brad Miller. We've got David B.B. Benningfield, and we've got Wolverine, Jamie, and am I pronouncing it right when I say Waddell?
That's right. Yep.
Guys, you heard it here first. I pronounced the name right. I even pronounce Brad Miller's wrong sometimes. Brad Miller.
How you can do that?
I do it. But it's nice to have you here, and we have a few people jumping over in the chat. We'll say hi to them real fast as well too. Our good friend Landshark Mark Taylor, Party Line is here. She can be sharing some of our links. We'll get some of your YouTube links, and we'll share those tonight as well too. Matt Krill is here. Matt was very helpful along with Eamon the other night, helping us with a stand-in for our show with Peter Gould, co-creator and showrunner of Better Call Saul, and with a pop-in from Bob Odenkirk. So both these fine gentlemen helped a lot as well. Oregon Guitarist says hello to everybody. Let me see. Obviously, some of our guests are actually in the chat right now as well too. Ladybug is here from the Party Line, a fun show every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 10 a.m. Eastern Time. So lots of fun here, and this is going to be a fun series I'm looking forward to approaching. And I want to thank each of you gentlemen tonight for jumping in and just getting to know you a little bit more. So what I'm going to propose to you right now, just to kind of warm up here a little bit and kind of break the ice a bit, so to speak. Not that there'd be any ice right now because it's hotter than actual hell in here. But we'll start with Carlo Santin. Tell us, we're around the table. We'll start with Carlo. I'll go to Paul, then Eamon, then Brad, then Dave, and then Jamie. Tell our fans and viewers where you're from and a little bit about yourself.
Sure. I'm Carlo. I'm in the Toronto area, so just a couple hours down the road from Eric. By day, normally I'm a high school English teacher, and that's been rather interesting the past few months with all the COVID stuff that we've been through. I play a little bit of guitar, not too well, but I have a lot of fun with it. I'm into photography. I do some writing. So I have a bunch of hobbies that I enjoy doing and that keep me out of trouble. How long have I been supporting the show? I think we're going back to the time when it was EVH Gear TV.
Right.
So I think for about 2 years now, about a year and a half or 2 years, I've been a Patreon supporter. And I've said this to you before, Eric, but one of the reasons why I support the show on Patreon is that I really appreciate the way that you run the show. And I've told you this before, that I like the way that you do things. You do things right. You treat people properly. And you take the philosophy behind what you do is right in line with how I like to approach things. So I figured, you know what? It's not that much. It's a couple of bucks every month that I pitch in. And just to do something to support our local talent and our local shows. And I'm happy to do it because, I don't watch a lot of TV, like we were talking off air. I know you've been doing the Better Call Saul actors and featuring that show in the past few weeks. And I haven't been tuning in because I have not seen even like 10 seconds of that show. I haven't seen Walking Dead. I don't watch a lot of television. So I don't, I'm not, when it comes to that type of thing, I'm not really up to date. But this show and the Helix Hour and all the shows that you do, I tune in pretty regularly. So I figured, why not? I don't watch cable TV, but I watch YouTube shows, and I watch this show for sure. And I said, you know what? Let me support Eric and throw him a little bit of money each month to help out.
Well, it is certainly appreciated more than you know. And it's funny because sometimes people say like, okay, what's $1, right? $1 doesn't mean anything, but it does. It does actually mean a lot, especially in times of the troubling times that we're all going through right now. A lot of people, many people are unemployed. Fortunately, I work in web design, so I've always been able to work from home. But there's a lot of people less fortunate than us as well too. And as you know, a lot of people watching right now, and Carlo and most of the people on the panel know that I run my own business. But to dedicate the amount of time that is really necessary and needed to run one show, let alone 2 shows, I did cut back on a lot of things. I was running 4 shows at one time. It'd be your traditional Friday night, whatever you want to call it, whether it be the EVH Gear TV or we eventually become Rock Shop Live. We had the Helix Hour on Sunday. I was doing a Kramer Corner on Kramer Corner on Tuesdays. Mondays was Rocking Dead. And I was just literally, I painted myself into a corner with handcuffs in that corner, couldn't go anywhere. And so things had to go. Rocking Dead was the first thing to let go. And if the opportunity ever came up and to talk to another really, really cool, person, cast, or crew member from that entity, I would certainly embrace it. Like Greg Nicotero, I'd love to bring him on. Maybe not even for Rocking Dead, but bring him on Friday night on Rock Shop because he's a major player. He's a Gibson guitar user. Really, really cool. He's a major musician. So I'd love to talk to him, and that could kind of break into the Rocking Dead world. But, I started to focus on the strengths, and instead of doing a million things half-ass, I wanted to just do 2 things pretty good. So we've got our Rock Shop Live on Friday, and then the Helix Hour on Sunday. So the support that you guys give us really, really helps offset what we can lose by, missing a phone call when a customer calls or something, you know what I'm saying? So it helps tremendously. So thank you from the bottom of our hearts here. So we'll jump over to Paul, and I know where Paul came in, but I'm not going to spoil it for him. And I'll jump over to Paul. You can tell us. And this is one of the nice things because had I not kind of experimented and thought, let's try to book this guest, let's book these series of guests from this particular avenue, I wouldn't have met Paul. And Paul is also respected by some people from the avenue that he's going to tell us a little bit about. So I'm going to jump over to Paul and, I'm trying to click on his screen here if I can. And why can I do that? I'll click. You know what I'm going to do? Go back here.
I'm the only guy without the cool background, if it helps you.
Okay, but I'm just wondering why I can't get you on the screen now. Why can't? Oh, I'm getting.
That's all right. I don't need to see me any bigger than it is.
Okay, once actually, as long as you're talking, I think we got you. So to introduce yourself,
sure.
Tell us where you're from.
Absolutely. My name is PaulSurraAZ. I live in the Phoenix, Arizona area, where it's only 107 degrees today. We're looking at a little cool streak here before we get to 113 midweek again. I am a production director for rock radio station 98 KUPD here in Phoenix.
Nice.
I am also do the public address announcing for the Arizona Coyotes of the NHL. So I know all you hockey fans there in Toronto. By the way, we want Austin Matthews back, please. I don't do a whole lot, honestly. And Eric, going back to what you said about I met you because of the Better Call Saul, Patrick Fabian. I was actually aware of your channel before that, and I had kind of tooled and looked at a few videos here, and I think that's why it popped up in my queue. And when I saw that Patrick Fabian was going to be on, that was the first time I actually kind of tuned in to like watch a full episode of it. And although I think you had alluded to that maybe I was kind of in, and no, I'm going to tell you honestly, like I do not know any of those people on a personal level. And I was blown away when he mentioned my name and stuff on that show that day. And I mean, specifics, I mean, I was really blown away because, you think that these guys, they see a million people, they have followers and this and that. So, I mean, I was equally as blown away and flattered, quite honestly. So, that's where that all shakes out. And it was great that he gave me some recognition, but, by no means do I know any of those people, but I do think that it's awesome that that you've got so many of the top dogs in that whole, I mean, with the actors and the writers. And so, I mean, Peter Gould and Schnauz, those, other than getting Gilligan, I guess that would be the next conquest for you. And we'd all love to see that probably, but that's it. I live honestly a simple life out here. I've played in bands over the year. I mean, going back to the late 80s, 90s, I played bass in a band, and, we did some touring through the Midwest and the Southwest. I've been around for sure. And, we were pretty successful. I'm originally from Buffalo, New York. So, I mean, definitely I'm familiar with the Northeast and where you guys are at. And if you're whoever it is of you that are living in the Toronto area, when people ask me where I'm from, honestly, I still say I'm from Buffalo, New York, because, even though I was 16 and it was 40 years ago that we moved out here, I still consider myself Buffalo my home. So, but I appreciate you guys and you, Eric, of course, having me on tonight.
It's an absolute pleasure. And it was very cool. And Patrick says, "Oh, Paul Surra, we know Paul." I forget what exactly he said, but it was very, very cool. And I can imagine how that'd be rewarding, because, I mean, we all have we all worship some of these people in the entertainment industry, whether it be music or TV and, that kind of thing. So very, very cool for sure. And just like when some of the guests will ask questions, and then it's so humbling to see, some of the people making little memes out of it and sharing their question. And it's, it's great for them, and it's great for me as well too, because it's promoting my show, it's promoting them, and it's just a nice, warm, fuzzy feeling. Very, very cool. But yeah, you mentioned Vince Gilligan. We've already went down that road, and there's potential. However, Vince, this is a funny thing about Vince, as most people will know, Vince doesn't do social media. Doesn't have a Twitter profile, doesn't have a Facebook page, maybe has a LinkedIn page. I don't even know about that. I may have searched him. I don't think I've ever found him there. He's very off the grid. And with the writing from home and all that stuff, and being that he's an active part of season 6 now, as the guests were telling you, he has been burnt out as far as live interviews, and especially these kind of things. So it could be some time or even never, but that the conversation has been made to work towards that. But I totally respect the fact that, when you're not used to doing these kind of things, and then all of a sudden you're, like I joked with Peter the other day, you're behind the webcam more than you are the cinema cam. There's a bit of a problem, right?
Right.
Yeah. So let's jump over to Eamon. Eamon, you and I go back quite some time. We had a chance to hook up at NAMM. I don't think it was last year, but the year before.
Yeah, right.
Over at our hotel room. You come over and hung with us, and tell us a little bit about yourself and how you discovered the channel and all those good things.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, I think it's been like 2.5 years maybe since I discovered the channel, and it was one of those channels that you found. If you were playing guitar at all, then you'd find Eric's channel and a few other channels. So that's really how I got involved, and it was back in these days, the old vintage T-shirt on there. So yeah, I'm based in San Jose now in California, obviously. From the accent, you probably guess I'm not from California, but
yeah,
you can't really see my tan based on the lighting on here. But yeah, I've been here in California for 3.5 years, probably been in the US for nearly 7 years now, East Coast and then across to California. So I worked for marketing companies, marketing and advertising. Started off as a developer, web design, web development, and then gradually into project management and program management. So
nice.
All of that stuff here in Silicon Valley, basically.
We're sharing some similar things. We both work in web design. Very cool.
Yeah. Yeah. So all the .com goodness or badness or whatever you want to say. So yeah, I play a little bit of guitar. Don't really do anything on YouTube. I've been promising myself and other people that I would do something on YouTube, and I think I've probably got like 2 videos up on YouTube or something, so probably not worth the effort looking, but I'll get there eventually. Even Louise, my wife, is saying, do something. So I need to at some point.
Listen to your wife. Listen to your wife. I'm telling you.
That's right.
Oh,
Yep.
Exactly. Unless she's saying not to buy another guitar.
Well, yeah, that's different. But if I didn't listen to my wife, I wouldn't be here with you guys tonight. So,
very, very true. And we wouldn't be here with you. So.
And you know what? Doesn't it drive you crazy that they're always right?
Yeah.
Carlo, I mean,
are they always right? Yeah, they're always right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In theory.
Yeah. There's been a couple times where Sandra's been wrong, and she goes, "Oh no, you know what? I was wrong on that." I was like, "What was that? What's that?
No.
Can you say it again?" And I get the recorder out, right? Okay, ready? Say it again. Now. I was wrong, and I get her on tape because it's very, very rare. And then I've actually, the one time I think I got her on tape, I erased it when I was formatting my phone back to factory, whatever, and I lost it. So as far as she's concerned, she was never wrong. So how about yourself, Brad? You and I go back quite some time.
I am from I live in the Tampa area, just north of Tampa. I work in aviation. So, my business is going steady right now. So I had plenty of time to do furlough vlogs and that kind of stuff. So my YouTube channel has lots of content now. It's not the most exciting at all, but it's there. I grew up in Cleveland, Ohio. So got to see tons and tons of great acts while I was living in that area. Didn't live there long enough because I went in the Air Force. I'm not going to say when. Let's just say it was in the 70s sometime. And so I did kind of in the Cleveland heyday of the rock and roll years anyway. And I got to see Rush right when Neil Peart joined.
Wow.
They were playing at a club called the Agora, which was
heard of it.
1,500 to 2,000 people, maybe. I have a bootleg recording of that somewhere too, which is pretty cool. You can hear Alex tuning in the background and stuff while they're getting ready to play. Matter of fact, my wife and I were talking about that this weekend, just some of the different bands that came through there, just crazy stuff. So I've been playing guitar since then. I'm just I wish I would have got the Guitar Hack name, but somebody already took it, so can't have that. But
you're not the only hack. I'm another hack.
Yeah, just another hack.
Aren't we all? Really, honestly, we're I mean, as soon as we get comfortable where we may be, there's always someone that's going to be better. So as long as you're just having fun playing your guitar, as you always say, play your guitar. That's one of the things.
That's the best I can do. And just so everybody who's watching, I made a confession before this all started. I had never seen an episode of Walking Dead, Breaking Bad, or Better Call Saul. So
that's okay. That's a good thing.
I admit it.
That's a good thing because we've talked a little bit about that on our shows, Walking Dead, Breaking Bad, Better Call Saul, and El Camino, of course. And it's just different ideas that we've explored here on the show. And the fact is now that it's actually great for a person to wait until all this stuff is out, because now you can go in, like Matt Krill, who's over in the chat right now. He was telling us the other night, he was saying that him and his wife are going to approach it from the chronological order now. So they're going to watch Better Call Saul, they're going to watch Breaking Bad, and then they're going to watch El Camino. So you get the luxury of watching it in sequential order. So very, very, very cool. Not everybody gets that luxury. Some of us that watch, like Walking Dead even as well too. I wasn't one of the first people that jumped into it. I jumped into it late. It'd probably been out for about 1.5 years or maybe even 2 years. And then I found it on Netflix, and then Sandra and I binge watched it. The Breaking Bad thing, just like with that whole universe, it never really took off at first until another example, Rick and Morty. Junior and I, and actually Sandra, watched Rick and Morty, the cartoon. And we get to kind of say that we were watching it before it was cool to watch it. But then it just becomes so mainstream, the merchandise everywhere, and it's not as cool because everyone's watching it now, right? But there's that luxury of watching all these cool shows. But before we go on to our next panelist, I'm just going to ask you to maybe explain a little bit more about your aviation, because I love aviation. What is it, without going too deep into it, without divulging any information? Can you tell us what your job description entails?
So right now, the company I work for is split into two divisions, let's say, and one of them is aircraft manufacturing, and the other one is the service. I work in the service side. I do avionics, so electronic work. Primarily, I'm the on-site avionics system engineer. That title, though, is mine, that I made up, because they said, hey, we need an engineer. Can you do this? And I said, sure. And they said, well, you need to put that on your email. So there it is. So I have military background in avionics and electronics, and have done it for 40 years now. So, but I love it. I used to get to fly a lot more, either on test flights. I started to do my private pilot license about 7 years ago. Between changing jobs and money, and lost the plane I had access to, that kind of fell through. So I've never been able to do that. It used to be up where you could see it, but I do have a framed solo picture of my first solo in an airplane.
Nice.
So,
well, that's the reason why I asked, because only a few people know this about me. I grew up on an airport. My dad was an aircraft engineer. And as you would know, Brad, and most people watching right now probably wouldn't know what this means. But when you take your car in for a safety check at a you buy a car, you got to get safety, take it to a mechanic. They sign off. Okay, it's certified for the road. Well, for an aircraft, it's called a COA, or a C of A, which is a certificate of airworthiness. And that's what my dad did. And he was one of the world's most, well, at least certainly in Canada, in North America, is one of the, at the time, this goes back to, like the 50s and 60s, 70s and further on. But anyways, he was an aircraft engineer, and we had a small little airstrip. There's South Buxton and there's North Buxton, the North Buxton where the settlement of the Underground Railroad and all that kind of cool stuff. We were in South Buxton, just a village. We had about an 1,800 foot, but maybe a little bit longer, maybe 2,200 foot grass airstrip. And pilots from across Canada would fly their planes in, leave their plane with my dad, and they would take a Via Rail train, or they would take a Greyhound bus to go back home, or whatever the case may be, and leave the aircraft at my dad's place for, the course of a week. And, there's, in the car world, there's always, a guy who knows a guy. And I'm not trying to refer to Better Call Saul, but, okay, the engine's going to fall out of the bottom of the car. The wheels are just hanging on by, wire ties. But if you give the guy $50, it'll pass safety, right? My dad was never that guy, because he was and he would never drink on the job. He would have a lot of coffee on the job, but he would never let anything pass, and he become very respected for that. But it's funny, you see all these kids, like, back, remember when, we're all kids, we're hanging in the backseat of a station wagon, no seat belts and all that kind of stuff, like definitely not safety like we have today. I was like that with my dad in aircraft. I was in an aircraft strapped into a two-seater in a Cessna or a Stinson, which was a aircraft that we gave to the Royal Canadian Aircraft Museum. We retired it. I'll show you some pictures of it later, Brad. But I was in an aircraft when I was 2 and 3 years old. And so later on in life, my dad says, okay, you're going to be an aircraft engineer. And he had all these beautiful, beautiful tools, expensive tools. And I learned very, very quickly that you don't use like a $70 wrench as a hammer. I'd be underneath the car using a wrench, a snap-on wrench or something like that, and using it as a hammer. And my dad, puff, it's, we can't do that today, but I certainly got a, right? And I learned very quickly that a wrench is not a hammer. Long story short, he says, you're going to follow my footsteps. He was going to leave me the whole business, blah, blah, blah. So fast forward to many years later, he started giving me some more training, and I was training for my solo flight. Along with him, a World War II Spitfire pilot who is a best friend of my dad. His name is Jerry Billing. He's passed away. He was shot down several times over Germany, and one of the fellows who was responsible for the end of the war, he taught me how to fly as well too. So my dad made a deal. He goes, okay, I'm going to do a C of A on Jerry's, one of his aircraft. He had multiple up in Essex, Ontario, and near towards the Windsor border. And he says, I'll do a certificate for you in exchange for you for completing Eric's training. And so Jerry, God rest his soul, was a smart ass, and he figured, okay, here's an easy way to get out of this one real quick. I'm going to take you through some World War II loops and flips and rolls. And I completely lost my stomach for it, and I never flew again. But I did have one solo flight illegally. FCC, you can come and get me, or whatever, you can come and get me. But I really, really miss the air. And when I fly in a jet, I'm terrified. But when I fly in a two-seater plane, especially when I have control of the stick, I'm quite happy. So very nice to catch up on that. Very long-winded story. We're going to jump over to David. David, let's have a little bit of a background from you.
All right, everybody. Can you hear me all right?
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
All right. So I'm in Kentucky, Campbellsville, Kentucky, where the bourbon flows. So it's a great place to live. You get all seasons. Not very far from the road from the old Blackstone Cherry Boys and the Kentucky Headhunters, about 40 minutes from all those guys. During the day, I am a director of operations for a company that installs Dish Network satellites and Google Nest products in the state of Kentucky, Indiana, and Ohio. So Brad and Eric, I do get to fly in a little SR-22 Cirrus quite often to those offices that I need to jump over to. So I understand that. Loving the fly. I love it. On the music side of things, you can see I'm in my little studio. I play music with the band. We do originals and covers. We play in clubs all the way around Kentucky and wherever we can go, Tennessee, Indiana, anywhere we can go. And we play about 40 weekends a year.
Nice.
We play everything from the 60s to today. Whatever they want to hear, we play it. We're getting ready to release a single of our own song coming up in the next little bit. The band name is Rock Castle. I did see there's another Rock Castle in Texas, so we got to figure out how to work on that. But I came to the show from actually the Helix Hour. I purchased a Helix back in November. I broke my band of using tube amps. I was a tube amp guy, full force. You can see my 5150. That's the original one. Back in the back, that's the 5150 with the block letters there.
Mm-hmm. First gen.
I've been PV guy for all my life, and then I finally broke down and bought a Helix, and I want to know what the hell to do with the Helix. And I said, well, you unbox your Helix with the Helix Hour. So there you went. So that's where I started, and I started watching all the episodes, learning how to use the Helix with all the shows that Eric has put out there. And then I started dropping onto the rock shop when I can. Friday nights is usually a Kentucky drunken night, so it's kind of a busy night sometimes with friends over. But I try to get on as much as I can on Friday nights, but definitely learned a lot from Eric and all the people that's been on the chats, that's been the guest on here. I have watched all the Walking Deads. Okay, I'm caught up on all those. I started those years ago. I just started. I'm actually on season 4 right now on Breaking Bad.
Good.
So I'm just about done with it. But I got stuck into another series. It's called Ozark.
Oh, love it.
Oh, yeah.
Great.
I love it.
So I had to watch all of that one first. So then I went to the Breaking Bad. It almost like they just work together almost.
Yeah, for sure they can.
Yeah, so it's definitely. I'm trying to learn how to launder money, I guess, but it's not. I'm not very good at it, but definitely a great time, and love the show, and everything that I've learned from it. Exactly, because let me tell you something. Playing covers in a band with the Helix, it's like a dream come true because you can set different settings for each song instead of just playing one amp and sounding like one amp. The whole, trying to sound like John Cougar Mellencamp to Stevie Ray Vaughan to Metallica, you can set it up and you sound like it. So I learned a lot from all the people that's been on the show.
Well, I appreciate that. And imagine the trucks of gear that we'd have to bring to be able to do a top 40 and do it authentically. Let's say one of us was hired tomorrow to go do the tribute to so-and-so or tribute to such and such an era. You'd have to have the Voxes, the Marshalls, the Fenders, everything that's in Helix. You'd have to have that and have great mics, have a great engineer to be able to pull it off, and we could do it with either a Stomp or a Helix or Podgo. So very, very cool. And I don't care where the people come in to our shows, how they find us. I'm just happy that they find us. And that's something that I feel very, very blessed with, because here is my idea of trying different shows. For about 3.5 years, we're doing a strictly an EVH thing. And when I cut myself, I have red, white, and black blood stripes. I'm a diehard Van Halen fan, and I will to the end of my days. When I pick up a guitar, there's no lie. There's not, literally the first thing I play is either just a tiny piece of Eruption, incorrectly, but I'll play it. I cannot force myself to not play that. So my Van Halen devotion goes to the end of time. But people can only talk about that for so much before it gets a little bit boring. And, you know, I mean, we could be a Van Halen channel for the rest of our lives, but you painted yourself into a corner. So by trying some different things, especially when I started doing like the Walking Dead thing, even though it may sound a little silly. So let's say a husband is watching the show because he likes Helix, okay? And the wife or the spouse or girlfriend happens to tune in and sees a channel and, oh, what's this Walking Dead stuff to do? Walking Dead. I love Walking Dead. So now I've been able to catch a couple other residual people, right? And that same thing now has applied by exploring the things with other show content. And, you know, some people bounce. The analytics are showing that they're not for the most part. So, and I'm having fun with it. And I mean, just like when we talk about when you write a song, you're writing it for yourself. I'm doing a show talking about something I really love. And if no one likes it, well, that sucks. It really hurts. But I like it. So I'm having fun. Then when you see people like all of you tonight on the panel that have been saying where you've come from, and it's very rewarding. And it makes all those man hours worthy of the time. So thank you on that. And I'm just so glad I was able to. Hadn't been for the Helix Hour, hadn't been for some of this stuff on Rock Shop Live, I wouldn't have met a lot of you guys. Let's jump over to Jamie, known as Wolverine in the chats, and tell us a little bit about your background, where you are, and how you come into the fold here on the MGN channel.
Yep. Hi, guys. My name's Jamie. As Eric just said, I go by my online moniker as Wolverine. Most people think that's for the Wolverine character with the claws, but no, I'm actually a Michigan guy. And sorry, Paul, but go Wings.
Hey.
Red Wings.
I forgot to say go Bolts.
Go Bolts, that's right,
Hey.
Tampa Bay. So a bunch of hockey fans here. You figure Eric's from Canada, so everybody's got to love hockey on this channel. Yeah, so it's interesting learning about all you guys. I see you guys in the chats, and it's like, okay, I now put a face to that guy. You know, I think it's really cool. But I live in Atlanta now. So I moved from Detroit in 1993, been down here for 27 years. And I did software programming, engineering, just boring computer crap for, you know, a decade and a half. And went and started a business doing a retail home theater business. So I had a little 1,500 square foot shop down here by one of our local malls, and sold it in 2012. And always had a passion wanting to learn guitar. That's one of the things I wanted to do. And now that I had a little bit of time on my hands, okay, I went and, you know, I bought my first guitar back in the late 90s, but it just sat there. I couldn't play, you know, even an AC/DC riff. And, you know, so I was searching one night for how to play Running with the Devil and came across EVH TV. So, you know, Eric's channel popped up. So I hopped on there that night and he talked to me. I was in the text chat and Eric was, you know, oh, hey, Wolverine, how's it going? And I was like, oh my gosh, I've been in a lot of live chats, but nobody ever made it personable or made you feel that you were welcome. And it's like, I think that's why we're all here. There's probably a dozen, maybe a dozen and a half, 2 dozen patrons I support. Only a couple of guys that do what Eric does right here. So this is awesome. This is really, really cool. I could touch on all the other stuff. I know Carlo doesn't watch much TV. We watch a lot of TV in this household. Being a home theater guy, I still had a lot of access to dealers and stuff like that. And, you know, but the 3 shows that are mentioned here, I really haven't gotten into yet. They're on that back burner with The Walking Dead. I know some people that have acted in it. Better Call Saul is one that I really want to watch, and Breaking Bad I've heard so much about from some of my buddies that are now watching it their second time through and ragging on me because I haven't even started my first time through. Ozark, I actually love that show. I didn't start watching it until I got a side gig as an extra in that show.
What?
David? So
Nice.
Yeah.
Tell us about that.
So,
that's crazy.
Yeah. So in Atlanta, there's a lot of television production. A lot of the movies, everything but commercials is filmed here in Atlanta now, or at least was till COVID. I saw another casting call come out just today. First one since March. But yeah, so I was in season 3, episode 3. I was just a boater. I couldn't even make myself out hardly at all. But the little extra work, you know, the stuff I fill up my time in retirement, I don't know how I ever had time to do it when I had a job because I'm way busier now. And I love the guitar. I love to play. I suck at it. I'm, you know, the penultimate guitar hack, but our buddy in Toronto, got the name from us, Brad. But so I love to play. But the other things that I've done on the TV side, I did get an extra gig in a movie called Avengers Endgame, which was a big, it was a superhero blockbuster. So I actually was an extra in a 185 person scene that I don't know if anybody's seen the movie.
Oh yeah.
But it's where Stanley has his cameo and he drives by the time travel sequence back to 1970, Lehigh, whatever. And so I was a drill sergeant, and I can send anybody pictures or whatever. You look me up on IMDb. So I was a drill sergeant, one of 5, although they only used 2 of us in the scene and kept 3 people on the bench, paid them and sent them home. They get paid regardless. There's only a couple of days shoot back October 17th, 18th, 2017. So it was a year and a half before the movie came out. But I happened to be a drill sergeant leading a platoon of 12 or 15 guys in T-shirts. So we were doing our little thing and walk right by the camera. And, it was just an establishing shot to set up that they're at a military base before, Robert Downey Jr. goes and does his thing. And Chris Evans was there also. I didn't get to meet him, but I did get to shake hands with Robert Downey Jr. Surreal moment. I almost forgot my name. Seriously. And he leaned in, his handshake. It was at the end of the day. I know I'm way out of order here. I got upgraded to a speaking role. So I'm in the credits of Avengers Endgame. Although my speaking line got cut, it was cool just, having the whole thing with, the director come up and they're on the walkie-talkies and they liked what I was doing with the cadence and whatever. So for a couple of days I got to speak and they set me up with a trailer and everything. And this is just a guy with no skill in anything. And here I am, I've got a trailer. I got my haircut next to the Benedict Cumberbatch. So I got to talk to him and got to shake hands with Robert Downey Jr. And, it was, we had it was like a 5 a.m. call to get there and you're doing the breakfast thing, eating in the extras tent with 185 people. Then the 6 a.m. call was for your military training. So we had an hour to go through that to learn how to salute and who to salute and all the stuff that I've never learned. And then we're out on set and I had my platoons and we're going by the camera and I was, in between takes, there was the other drill instructor. I don't want to take the whole show here. Cut me off if it's too much.
It's all good.
The other drill instructor was actually an Army DI. So he knew what the hell he was doing. I had no clue at all. I was totally faking it, fake it till you make it.
Yeah.
And so our platoon, I had the guys in the white T-shirts and the camis that were not very organized at all. And his guys were already the older guys. My guys were early 20s, late teens. And so between takes, I had guys that were starting on their left foot, some guys starting on their right foot, people walking out of sync. So between takes, I just went over and was saying, no, when they say and back, before they say and action, they say and background. Then you start moving and action. And then the speaking character speak. Says, no, guys, when he says on background, start with your left and count in your head. Left, 2, 3, 4, left. So just one of the ADs, Matt Haggerty, was the guy that was on the walkie-talkie, caught wind of that and thought, no, that's really good. Do that. No, do that by the camera. So we did it. And he was got on the walkie-talkie, called somebody over. Usually if they call somebody, it's either really good or really bad. But this ended up being really good because the director came over, one of the younger Russo brother, and says, what's your name? I said, sir. Jim went, no, sir. He says, you former military? Sir, no, sir. He says, you seem like it. How are you acting like this? So, well, honestly, I just watched some clips of Full Metal Jacket on YouTube this weekend. He said, oh, my God. He says, well, Mr. Jamie, today's your lucky day. I'm upgrading you from background to cast and crew for Marvel. So when we break, don't go back to extras holding to eat your lunch. Come to my AD trailer and sign your SAG contract.
Wow. So Screen Actors Guild.
Stuff, yeah. So that just totally fell into my lap. And then the end of that day, I went over to thank not the director, the producer, and was shaking his hand and stuff. And I saw Robert Downey Jr. come up. And when they say it's a wrap, it's a madhouse, everybody runs out of there. So, but I wanted to make sure to show my respects. I appreciate you giving me the opportunity. And so I saw RDJ coming up. So I kind of sheepishly went to turn and give him And he stood and he shouldered up right next to me, right in front of me, and reached out and shook my hand. And he reached in, "Hi, I'm Robert."
As if you didn't know, right?
Yeah, right, exactly. And it was just like, you know, a total power grab, but I had 100% of his focus for that 10 seconds, 12 seconds. And it's like, I almost forgot my name, you know. It's like, oh my God. And here I'm thinking, okay, we're going to go drinking beers afterwards. How was your first speaking gig or whatever? And in that moment, it's like, okay, I better go now, you know. So it was nice. Went back to my trailer and everything. It was just awesome. And, so I've done a lot of little extra stuff like that. It was kind of cool that we had a movie here in Atlanta filmed August 1st and 2nd, 2019. And it was the Richard Jewell story of the 1996 Atlanta Olympics with the bombing, where Richard Jewell was the prime suspect and the media had pretty much convicted him. And it's a Clint Eastwood film. So I recognized the guy that I'd worked with in MacGyver. He was the stunt coordinator. And I was playing a GBI, Georgia Bureau of Investigation agent, just because I've got the short hair and I do a lot of military stuff where I've always got a helmet and you can never see me. But, you know, and we're wearing the hot, sweaty stuff that's 30, 40 pounds a year in the Georgia sun. So I went over and just positioned myself by him. This is at the concert scene right before the bomb goes off. And I saw the guy that I know. So I'm thinking, okay, that's what the cameras are going to be. And in the world of TV, if your knee hits the ground, it's considered a stunt, which is like $950 bump, like just like that. The extra pay is not anywhere near close to that. And so I figured I'm going to go over to try to, you know, see if I can get a stunt out of this deal. And so I'm talking to him and everything. And I just, you know, things are going on. I hear a voice I recognize, and it's John Hamm. And it's like, I look, and it's John Hamm, like 10 feet from me. And he's wearing the same blue jeans and gray T-shirt as my buddy from MacGyver, the stunt coordinator. So that guy was the stunt double for John Hamm. So I ended up being set up like 10 feet behind where John Hamm's location point was after the bomb. So I got to spend some time hanging with him. And we did this one take where they ran downfield. And John and I and one other extra carried this person off to the side that I thought was going to make great footage. It didn't get used in the film. But it was cool, though, because after they shot the cannon to do the big blast for the bomb, for the Olympic bombing, Clint Eastwood came over to talk to his people, and everybody was asking, okay, what do you want for the shot, Clint? What do you think? And they said, well, why don't you reload the cannon? It was like 4 to 5 minutes to reload it. And the other people were kind of like talking amongst themselves. And so I'm standing there like 3 feet from Clint Eastwood, neither one of us saying a word. So I figure, well, you know, you're never supposed to speak to until spoken to, especially principal actors, because if they're going through their lines and you mess them up, that's no good. Nobody wants to be disrespected. But he was just standing there. So I asked, you know, a congenial question that he didn't have to answer. I said, sir, I really wanted to say thank you for telling the story of our city. And I just left it at that. And he turned and engaged in conversation. So I spent 4.5 minutes talking to Clint Eastwood. That was just amazing. I got to tell him that my grandmother was a big fan and the stuff that my father liked. We watched Escape from Alcatraz. And he told me the whole story of the movie, you know, that, you know, another outfit had the film rights, which was Jonah Hill or Seth Rogen or Leonardo DiCaprio. So they were squatting on it, not doing anything. So he bought the rights from them to tell the story because he really thought that it got buried. And I told him, I says, yeah, my kids grew up here and they never even knew the story. They were all after 1996. And, you know, so I'm thinking, okay, is there a movie quote that I could throw him? You know, make my day, get up my lawn, you know, do you feel lucky? So I didn't want to use one of those. So I says, and I have to tell you that one of my favorites was from Any Which Way You Can, like 82 or 84, Right Turn Clyde, which I don't know if anybody saw the movie where he had in a orangutan with his buddy and he'd punch his arm out the window, making a right turn, and punch the guy that had the mustache like Eric, the motorcycle chopper guy, and knock him down. So he got a kick out of that. If anybody wants pictures, just shoot me an email or I'll send them to Eric and he can distribute it as he wants. So it was just surreal to get, 4.5 minutes to talk to Clint Eastwood. Had a lot of time with John Hamm, just a great time doing extra work. My guitar playing sucks, but I spend a lot of time doing other things, housework, you know, doing these little side movie gigs here and there and just falling into the right place at the right time, seemingly. I love Eric's channel. I love the shows you do. I don't, the Sunday one seems to be times that I'm usually on the back deck playing a song pop, a video game on the iPad where you pick songs. And it's like, I see Eric's broadcasting. So, okay, that's what I'd much rather do. So that's when I kind of get to tune in. And so I just love being part of this community. I think you guys are all great. I look up everybody's YouTube channel I look at, and there's stuff that I can learn from it. My stuff, I've got a couple hacks of me just playing power chords or something. And, I am doing, I did record a cover for Judas Priest, Not Living After Midnight. You got Another Thing Coming. And now I'm trying to learn how to sync up the video with my playing so it's not terribly out of sync or whatever. So this is all very new to me.
Trying to learn how to do that.
But one of the nice things about, first of all, incredible stories, and some of the people that you've met is insane. A dream for all of us. It's also very nice to find out that you found the channel through Running with the Devil cover, which is very, very cool. Are you on PC or Mac for editing?
I have both. I also did reviews for Best Buy, one of their professional reviewers. So I do have an Alienware with a high-end graphics card, the 2080 Ti or something. But normally I'm a Mac guy.
Okay,
so
I'll share this with you on Mac. This is just a dream come true. So I'm producing videos for myself all the time, and I'm doing some videos for Sandra a lot. She's doing stuff for her channel, and I use Final Cut Pro on Mac. And on Final Cut Pro, so let's sometimes what I'll do is I will, if I'm shooting video, I'll have audio coming in from a couple different sources. One might just be an on-camera microphone. One might be a microphone like this, or one might be an external on-camera microphone, like a Rode microphone, whatever. And what I do is I bring it into Final Cut, and all I do is I can take a clip and an audio clip. I click on both of them, and I right-click on it and go synchronize audio. Done. And then you just have to tell it now which audio do you want to use. Is it like, because it'll synchronize both. And you could have the on-camera mic, which would be horrible. You just have to uncheck that one. And so, literally, you can hit synchronize audio, go grab a coffee in the kitchen, come back, and your audio is synced. It's a great thing.
That's crazy.
But for people that don't have that,
because I actually did buy the Final Cut Pro. So I've got that, and I learned from a YouTube video how to grab, highlight. I did a 4-camera thing just with iPhones set up around the little space that I'm in. I've got my background, but I'm in a little tiny studio / closet / office. And I don't think it synced it right. I've been having to drag the slider bar left and right. Mm-hmm. So right click to synchronize audio. Sounds like that will do the work for me.
It will. And here's another tip too, no matter what editor you're using. And also for broadcasting live on YouTube. It's funny, I actually had people make fun of me for this. When I was really starting getting into YouTube, probably about my first, I've been on YouTube for quite some time, but in 2016, I decided I'm going to do this. I'm going to produce some kind of a channel. I'm going to take it serious. My very first real video was hooking up some pedals in front of my 5150. It was kind of cringy looking back now, but it is what it is. And I said at the end of the video saying, if people would like to hear more videos from me, see more videos from me, comment below and blah, blah, blah. And sure enough people said, I'd like to see some more. But what I'm trying to say is when I decided I wanted to start doing shows, I was trying to sync up my video to audio, because with the average webcam, a lot of people use the Logitech C920. It's a common webcam for people broadcasting. There's an offset, a video and an audio offset, and you have to find that magic number. And I'll go on the record right now and say this to save a lot of people a lot of the months of stress that I had. I literally would do recording videos and I'd go 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, like that. And people were laughing at me because I spent a month doing that. However, little did they realize that I'm doing that to get it perfect. And 300 milliseconds was that magic number. I had to offset my audio and video by 300 milliseconds. And because before it'd be like 1, 2, 3, clap, and you'd hear it, right? And it was annoying as heck. And I know people are going to probably see some latency tonight just because we're using Zoom. It's going to be a little bit different. But that's all those things that I would go through to make sure everything was perfect. And then I would work on my audio levels and make sure my compression. And I remember even Brad gave me some suggestions way back, because I'm using Rode is a major sponsor of our channel. So everything we have in the house is furnished by Rode as far as microphones. But this is a dynamic mic. I have, and I'll try to bring another one into the frame here if I can. This is a shotgun condenser, all right? And I've got Rhodes all over the place. But in the new area where I'm at right now, it's not as acoustically treated, even though I've got a massive sofas and things in here that absorb some of the noise. The dynamic mic is what I need to go with. So I'm not hearing like the cars driving by on the road, stuff like that. But it's a gain-hungry microphone. So I was using there's two things you can use, multiple things I guess you can use. I was using a cloud lifter device, and there's a thing called a FET head, where you can put it between the microphone and your mixer, and it'll give you about 20 dB of clean boost to your channel strip. With that clean dB, in this case, it was giving me so much hiss. I think, Brad, one time you alluded, Eric, you got a lot of hiss in the background. And that's what it was. It was the cloud lifter. So I thought, okay, I'm just going to maximize my channel strip, and I'm going to take away the cloud lifter, and I've done that. But in the very near future, I am replacing this mixer with a Tascam is sending me a Model 24. So it's a 24-channel recording console. So I'm looking forward to that. It has slightly better preamps. But I guess long story short, it's trying to go the extra mile to make the content here enjoyable by people, because there's a million people doing what we're doing, and we're just begging for 60 minutes of your time or 90 minutes of your time, and I want to try to make it rewarding and come back. And here's a neat thing I'll jump over to in the chat. We'll welcome somebody new in the chat called the Chad. Thank you so much for joining us, the Chad. And here's a funny story I'll share with our Patreons here, and of course our live viewers as well too. It's a funny story going back. It was the Chad, so to speak, that not this the Chad, but the Chad introduced Sandra and I to one another. Sandra and I grew up riding a school bus together, and when we were kids going to grade school, and we both got in trouble. I'm not going to say what we did. I'd have to call.
I think we figured it out already.
Yeah, I'd have to call. Oh, it wasn't a hanky panky or anything like that. I had that in my mind, but we were pretty young. I'd have to call Saul if I alluded to what we did. But so we got sentenced to sit at the front of the bus together for the duration of the school year. But fast forward many years into the future, we hadn't talked or hadn't seen each other, and I was in my band Finding Core, and we're playing a club. We went back and forth between an original band with covers, totally original band, blah blah blah, and so we were going to one of our songs was Never Again. High school. Sandra's telling me she's saying high school. There we go. So I guess it's a little bit better. She's corrected me. That sounds much more appropriate now. Right? So one of our songs was, and I still go on the record by saying this is still a good song. Love Nickelback or hate Nickelback. Never Again is when Nickelback was a rock band. Back when this Chad Kroger had balls. It was a good band. So we're about to play Never Again. And then there was some contact between Sandra and I after through the internet, and maybe old school internet like message forums and like AOL and Yahoo, ICQ, and all those different programs. And it's something like, she said something like, when you covered the Chad, it was great. And I'm like, by the Chad, do you mean like Chad Kroger from Nickelback? And I was so naive, right? And so I hit it off because she was there with her cousin watching our performance, and she's like, oh, great. Here comes another band going to ruin another Nickelback song, right? And here we are today, right? So got to thank Nickelback, got to thank the school bus, got to thank, the law, all those cool things. But it's awesome. I mean, just to have, people finding these shows, and the feedback that we get is great. And I mean, the support that you all show us is absolutely insane. I know there's a lot of people. We're going to be talking about gear. We'll be wrapping up here shortly, but let's go around the table. We'll go back over to Carlo, and I know there's a lot of similarity between us, all of us here, and I think a lot of it has to do with, at least in some cases, with Van Halen, because I was originally a Van Halen themed channel. So, and look at Carlo, for instance. Look at his background, which is a photo he took, by the way. I got to give him credit for that.
Yeah, I took that photo. Yeah.
And thank you for the book. Yeah, thank you for the book you sent me. Carlo sent me a book of all the photos he took. Was that at Molson Amphitheater or was that London?
That's London.
Right. So you and I both attended both shows. You shot London, I shot a few in London, and then I shot at Molson Amphitheater. But let's go around the table. Just kind of talk. I guess we can condense it with this. Just talk about what's some of our favorite pieces of gear and why you like it. And we'll start with Carlo.
Okay. Well, I'm a lefty, so when it comes to guitars, it's been tough over the years to try and find an instrument that I really connected with and I really loved. And it's been tough trying to find an instrument that isn't black, because it just seems left-handed guitar players, their companies make left-handed guitars, but they paint them all black. And that's the only choice we get. So I right now I'm playing. I'm trying to get this right. I'm playing that guitar. Well, not that exact guitar there, but I'm playing Eddie's guitars right now. I have a Wolfgang Standard, and I have a US model as well, and love those. And I have an older Yamaha that is a nice wood finish, and I'm really happy with that. And I'm a Floyd guy. All my guitars have to have Floyd roses on them.
Nice.
I don't feel right if I don't have a Floyd. Yeah. And I've tried to play the Strats with just the regular trem, and it's just I feel like I'm playing naked when I don't have my Floyd on the guitar. So yeah, Eddie's guitars for sure, and my one Yamaha. I don't have a lot of guitars. I only have about 3 or 4. In terms of amps, like a lot of you guys, I started out with tube amps, and David, you have the 5150, the original head there behind you. I have the same amp in my guitar room right beside me here. I don't play it much anymore at all. I just once in a blue moon, I turn it on just to sort of fool around with it, because I'm all helix now, and I have been for at least a year, probably about a year and a half now, all helix, and I love the helix. And as much as I love tube amps, I don't think I'm going to be leaving helix to go back to tube amps. And there's been some really cool products come out for tube amps, like the tube amp expander from Boss, and the aux box, and like those types of things where you can hook up like 100-watt head, and you can control the volume with it if you want to play it at home, and it'll run IRs, and some of them will run effects and that type of thing. So there's some really, really cool stuff that's out there now for tube amps, and some really cool tube amps. I still love them, but I tell you, when I plug into my helix, it's like, wow, this is awesome. This is terrific. I've finally gotten kind of really comfortable with it, and it took me a while. It was a bit of a learning curve for me, but I finally got it where I'm really liking the sounds that I'm able to get from it now, and I'm not going back to tube amps. So, I want to add one more guitar to my collection, but I'm having a hard time. As a lefty, I'm having a hard time finding one that is really getting my attention, making me say, wow, I really need that. So
it's tough.
It'll happen. It'll come along. So I just need to be a little bit patient. But yeah, that's kind of the gear that I have. And like you guys, I'm a hack just like you guys, but I have a lot of fun with it. I play as much as I can. Sometimes it's I get pulled away from it for a little while because life happens, and and we all have other full-time jobs that require our attention. But I always play. I play as much as I can, and it's a lot of fun. It's a wonderful hobby. It's so much fun, and so that's kind of where I'm at as a player. I've been playing for a long time. I started when I was about 14, and when I was a teenager, I played a lot. I tried to get a band together a couple times when I was younger, and I didn't really know any guys that played. And my neighbor for a little while played the drums, so we got together for about a year and a half, and then he moved away. And then the guys I went to school with didn't really play. I didn't have anybody in my family that was really musical or anything like that. So I always had struggled to find guys to play with and to learn from. But I've played ever since, and it's great fun.
That's awesome. Hey, Carlo, I've got a quick question. How do you find searching for left-handed guitars? Like, is reverb a better spot? Because I noticed at Guitar Center, my wife is a lefty, and I went looking to get her one to enter my hobby. I couldn't find a used lefty to save my life. I saw some on Reverb, but is eBay or Reverb, or what is your preferred?
You know what? We have a chain here in Canada, Long and McQuaid, which is kind of like, it would be like Guitar Center, I guess, down in the States. And so they do offer some left-handed models. But they'll often carry used ones. People will come in and trade them in for whatever. So I'll go around to the different locations near me, and I'll pop in just to have a quick look to see what they have in stock. I've tried. I bought my Yamaha. I did buy off of Kijiji.
That's kind of like Craigslist in the States.
Yeah, kind of Craigslist type of service. And I found a guy that he was selling it, and he only wanted $200 for it. And I went down and snatched it up. But you know what? It's Jamie. It's really tough for me to find a guitar. It really is. So you just have to be patient and persistent.
That's right.
On top of that, I think what I've seen at Guitar Center, one of my buddies works there, a guy that I just end up buying a lot of stuff from, but he said they don't hold any value because they can buy them back for pennies because they can tell the left-handed player, players are 95% righties, but then when they go to resell it, they're jacking the margin up because you have a limited 5% selection to pick from.
Yeah. Yep, well, when I bought a Wolfgang Standard about 2 years ago, and I ordered it from EVH Gear. And so when I ordered it, they gave me a delivery date. So I ordered it. I think it was supposed to be a Christmas gift, and my wife actually ordered it in September so I would have it for Christmas. And the delivery date was the end of November. That didn't happen. And then we went into the new year, and they missed the second delivery date. And so then when I finally got a hold of somebody over at EVH Gear, the guy told me, well, he said it's a lefty, and we pushed back the production of all our left-handed models until whatever the date was. It was in April. So you'll have to wait until then. So I did, and then that date came along, and it still wasn't made. And I managed to get a hold of them again. And he said, well, you're a lefty. You're just going to have to wait until we make it.
It happens for sure, yeah. Well, there's a comment, too, from the Chad for you, Carl. He says you got to start doing custom builds, and totally with you on the non-floated guitars. And before we jump over to Paul, I'll show you guys. This will be a 10-second story. Make it real fast. 2 years ago, that's when Eamon and I got to hook up at NAMM. Gary Kramer invited us, Eric Jr. and I, to go stay at his ranch for 3 days. And before we had left, he goes, go through the parts drawer. He goes, dig through there. He goes, I said, what's in the bottom drawer? He goes, oh, Floyd Roses. He goes, you want a Floyd? He goes, here, pick a Floyd. And just take a Floyd with you. I'm like, okay. Original German black Floyd. So his drawers is like, how we have screws and this and that. He had beak necks, Floyd Roses, aluminum necks, just crazy. Just pick what you want in the junk drawer. I'm like, oh my God, how much time do we have here, right? Anyways, let's go over to Paul.
Junk drawer.
Yeah.
Yeah, Eric, I've had a lot of gear in my lifetime. As for now, my playing days are pretty much over. So, what I've got right now, I've got a Wolfgang. It's probably the standard. Does not have the D-tuna on it. I had one with the D-tuna probably in the early 2000s. It was beautiful. I think it played actually a lot better than the one I have now. And I'm just running a Line 6 Spider 475. And I talked to you about that, Eric, in an email the other day. As far as for my bass, I've got a Fender Jazz. It's a nice, 4-string. I've got a Yamaha 5-string bass. I've sold so much shit in my life. And that's why I'm telling everybody, if I can make one point to anybody listening out there, don't sell your shit. It's just, you'll always regret it. I regret so many things that I've sold. And even though you think, you're in financial, crisis or whatever, you just never get out of it what it was that you lost. And so if I could tell anybody, I don't care how bad things, just hold on to your stuff.
Find another way.
Absolutely. And that's Eric and guys. That's really all I enjoy. My Van Halen chops I'm trying to get them. I play, I think, decent Van Halen, but nothing perfect. I don't think I have to improvise certain things and techniques that he does.
Me too.
I think I can. It's kind of like the fake it till you make it. I'll do things that I think kind of mimic the sound, but I've seen the videos and the tutorials and whatnot, and I know I'm not technically doing it correctly, but it sounds okay in my ear, and that's all. As long as I enjoy it, I really don't give a shit. So, that's what I say. And like I said, the band I played in, our days are pretty much over. Every once in a blue moon, we get together, and honestly, I think you could ask anybody that knew us or heard us. You know, we were a pretty respectable band on the circuit when we traveled. You know, and this is the late '80s, to the early to mid '90s and stuff. We did a lot of originals and stuff, but covers was the thing that made us the money on the road. I mean, you got to play 3-4 sets a night, Tuesday through Saturday, and just make enough money to move on to the next city, and eating, living on $3 a day, get as many Taco Bell bean burritos as you can fucking get.
Yeah.
So, but
sorry, they didn't take that off the menu.
Yeah. Oh man. I
just had
can't
Taco
tell
Bell
you
today,
that
actually.
how many Taco Bell 59-cent bean burritos I lived on back then. But
hilarious.
So, that's pretty much it. I have a lot of fun with it, and yeah, I mean, as long as I'm having fun, I'm happy.
That's very important to say. And here's just one piece of advice before we jump over to Eamon. And I know Eamon's got some great collections over the years of guitars and gear. We all know where we are with our guitar playing. We all want to be better than we are. Sometimes we have restrictions. Sometimes we're bad for ourselves for not applying ourselves to learn more. Sometimes we can't learn more. Sometimes maybe we never will. But we have to be happy with where we are. And you never want to be bragging about where you are, but you have to be happy where you are and content. And as long if you're playing for your buddies that come over and watch you play and they're smiling and you're smiling, well, that's awesome. If you're playing and it's just you smiling, that's awesome. Just be happy where you are and be aware that we can always be better, because there's always gonna be someone better. But just have fun. That's the most important thing. Let's jump over to Eamon and he'll tell us about some of his gear. And as we go through Brad, Dave, and Jamie, we'll wrap up and we'll say thank you to everybody here as well too.
Yeah, I've kind of like Paul. I bought, used, and sold so many guitars over the years, some of which I look back and think, what were you doing? Why did you sell them? But for the most part, it's been buying them, playing them, thinking there's just not right for me. And I think one of the main guitars I had that I don't have anymore, and I had two of them, was a Wolfgang Special. And the reason that I got that was, Eric will know, because Eric and I went back and forth. It was probably 2.5 years ago, maybe, talking about the Wolfgangs and how they played. And I think my mistake at the time is I bought a Stealth Wolfgang Special.
Mm-hmm.
I sold it because I couldn't get on with it, and then I missed it and I bought another one. And I missed playing it, but I realized that there's two things I just never could get on with. And that is where the switches, the high switch,
reverse to Les Paul.
And then the frictionless part, my God, that volume went down every time I played. If I did anything apart from like plant my pinky on the guitar, then that volume screwed me every time I played. And I've got used to it now, and I have a Charvel DK24 in frost blue, which has that on there. But I literally just tuck my pinky underneath the bridge pickup, or literally stick it to the actual body so that I don't hear that volume control because it's so loose. So I think my biggest mistake was just not thinking, why don't I go for a standard on a Wolfgang, which doesn't have it, because I loved it. But I find it difficult to come up and do the switch.
Mm-hmm.
So I probably keep about, it sounds bad, but I probably keep about 7 guitars. 2 of them are home builds. So I like home building and I like upgrading guitars. So like I've got a couple of Washburn N2s and that come with standard Washburn neck pickups. I put Seymour Duncan 59s in. If they come with standard Washburn trims, I put Floyds in. I only have 3 non-Floyd guitars. One is has the Goto with locking tuners, and the other 2 are Telecasters.
Nice.
So every other guitar is same as most people on here, by the sound of it, has a Floyd Rose. And I put up with a bitching and moaning people do about setting them up and getting them set up and keeping them in tune. Just set them up properly.
That's right. Once it's set up, you're good.
Once you've done it once, you're done. Once you've done it once, then you try a million times to get a G tuner right, and then that's okay as well.
That's right.
That's not
awesome. That's awesome, man. It's good to see you experimenting with your original builds as well too. And Brad showed us some of his guitars through some of his live videos. But tell us a little bit about yours, Brad.
So the majority of the music that I play is church music. So I'm in several church bands. Before the middle of March, I was in several different church bands. And right now I'm at home, but my primary guitar for those two is I've got my Lone Star Strat and this PRS, the SE, the 245. Those are the two that I use primarily for that. I do also play bass on and off with that, and I've got a Stingray, the sub, so the Sterling sub bass, and for the most part, the amp that's right there is really used for the effects loop because I'm running everything through. See if I can. It's about dropping it. It's upside down.
There it is. Yeah.
But so I've got my HX Stomp there, and I've got the little MIDI switcher for it, and that's pretty much the whole rig. I use that for bass. I use it for acoustic. I use it for electric. It works great. When I'm home recording, I was using USB, but between the last Windows update and OBS update, something happened. So, and I asked a very dumb question last week because I know I can run directly into a mixer because that's how I normally play on stage. So I don't even know what I was thinking, but.
Hey, that wasn't a dumb question. That was a good question. And even Tony from Line 6 admitted it wasn't a dumb question, right? So all good.
So, but I did want to show this because I do have a couple Floyd guitars, but this is my original Kramer Night Swan.
Show that again. Nice. Okay, go one more time because I put you on the big screen.
Nice.
Oh, sorry. So that is the original Kramer Night Swan. Got this the same year they came out. The only regret I have with this is I didn't get the one with the lightning bolt on it because I saw Vivian Campbell do a live demo on it, and I had a Beretta and traded that for this.
The Billy Blaze model.
Yeah.
That's cool. That's a badass guitar, man. So you hang on to that one no matter what.
So, so this is definitely the one guitar that's worth something more than anything else that I've got as far as guitars go. So.
Nice. Well, we already know what David with the PV5150s, and I think Dave's going to surprise you with some of the guitars that he has. I mean, being a Van Halen fan, he's got some guitars that are a little outside what we would expect because I've had some hangouts with him as well too. He's told me about some of these. So, David, tell us about some of those guitars you got.
Well, just to make you all feel better, I don't sell shit. I've got about 35 guitars in this room. So behind me, there's a bunch of guitars, and if you just look around, there's some hanging up on the wall here, all the way around. There's guitars everywhere. There's amps everywhere. I got and that road case behind me is full of PV amps, but I use mainly the most guitars that I have. I mean, I have BC Riches from the 80s. I've got the Gibsons. I got the Fenders. I've got I have a Wolfgang as well, but my main guitars are ESP LTD Eclipse EC 1000s.
Beauties.
I've really fell in love with those guitars. I have quite a few of those. Now, when I go play on the weekends, I take 5 guitars with me. 3 of them are ESP the EC 1000s. One is a PRS Mark Tremonti, and I take the Wolfgang as well. So I take those 5 with me. But I have about 6 PRSs too. But every PRS you buy is nothing but a signature series. It's nothing but. I got 2 Zach Myers. I got 2 Mark Tremontis. I got Chris Robertson's Blackstone Cherry one. And Clint Lowry from Seven Dust. I have his.
Nice.
But my my ESPs and the necks, I mean, just everything about the ESPs, which I was a Metallica nut, I still am, but they kind of what drew me to the ESPs originally. But I kind of went off on my own and got the ECs. You know, I think Kirk Hammett plays an EC or two here and there, the Spider guitar. But, you know, mine's a Silver Sunburst. It's beautiful. I got 2 or 3 of those things, and I keep a backup. But, yeah, the EC 1000s are the way to go. And then now the Helix, right? But, you know, I still own the Helix right now. What I'm doing, I got the power cab here, but we try to make the stage look more like a show. So what I'm using right now is a 4x12 PV 6505 cabinet with Sheffields in it. And I'm using a PV power amp. So I'm actually running my Helix to that power amp to power it. So, and then using the actual 412 cab.
Nice.
So that's the way I'm using it now. The sound is phenomenal.
Do your ESPs and PRS, are they gloss finishes on the back of the neck, or are they satin? Or because I can't get on with gloss, I just can't. There's something about it that I just can't get on with it.
Some are gloss, yes, and some are not. It just matters what color scheme you're getting on the guitar, really and truthfully. But
right, yeah.
But I take some cleaner on the back of that neck with a fiber cloth. And
right,
it really slicks it up, and it's I never have a problem with it.
Cool, good to know. And it's so funny when you and I did our David, you and I did a couple of calls with our Patreon type members. Brad's one of the members as well too, where we have like kind of a one-on-one video call, and we spent some time talking to each other about gear and life and all that kind of cool stuff. You were telling me about all those Eclipse guitars, and absolutely beautiful. So thank you for sharing that with us as well. And then we're just over to our final with Jamie. He's going to tell us a little bit about his guitars, and we'll wrap up here. And this has been an absolute pleasure, as everyone is kind of saying in the chat as well, too.
Okay, so I don't have as fancy a collection, but I've got a fair amount of mediocre stuff that kind of runs the whole gamut. This was my first real guitar. It was $300. Was a Charvel, I think 1986. It's got the dip switches.
Kaler.
And and it's got active pickups. And it's just one I could never, ever let go of. Like David, I don't like to sell anything either. It's like stock trading. I'm not a trader. I'm a buy and hold, and some things are bad investments. I've got some stuff I'm not proud of. I really didn't start playing seriously until my wife got me my first nice high-end guitar, which was a Gibson Les Paul Standard for Valentine's Day 2016. So I'd been looking and went to the store, and I had a couple of cheap Epiphones and a couple of cheap Jacksons, the JS32s, and finally was gonna spend $700-800 to get a Gibson Studio, bare bones with nothing on it, and went and played one, found what I liked at a local guitar store in Kent State Music. Played it, like, okay, that's good. I'm pretty happy. And then just for giggles, I picked out a Gibson Standard, Les Paul Standard, that I just wanted to compare. Surely it's got to be pretty close, and it was not even close. So my wife called and says, "Well, honey, did you get it?" I said, "Well, good news and bad news. I didn't, but I found the one I want to get." Bad news is, and I took a picture of one that was like $5,500. So I sent that to her to kind of condition the thinking, although it was like half of that. But so that was 2016 Valentine's Day. So since then, I've added a couple of other Gibsons. The things I play most regularly, this is a Epiphone Les Paul, but I just love, it's a 2012 made in Korea. And I put the Seymour Duncans in it, the Billy Gibbons, Pearly Gates. And I just,
right there.
Yeah, it's a good pickup, right, Brad? And I just love the way that it feels. It plays so good. If it gets chipped or scratched, I'm not like, kicking the dog or being upset or something. Like if the Gibsons usually stay in the cases. I've got, I think, 3 of those, maybe 4. I recently came across the P90s, which I'd seen some other videos of other guys. You guys have a P90s. So I wanted to see how that sounded different if my mediocre tin ear could hear the difference. And I actually really like the feel. I like the range that you can go kind of clean and dial it back, or crank it up and be raunchy. And I've actually got, there's another YouTuber guy that I like a lot that does a Sharpen My Axe contest that I won. So I sent a couple of guitars out to him in Arizona. And one of them is the Gibson called BFG, Barely Finished Guitar from 2018. And it's P90s, and it's got like a snake skin on the body. And then the other was a Jackson SL3X. That's a neon orange. And I tiger striped it with pinstripes and just black electrical tape. It was a very, very bright neon. Yeah, okay. Yeah, Brad knows who I'm talking about. Who am I talking about, Brad?
Phil McKnight.
Phil McKnight. Great guy, man. He's probably my number 2 with you, Eric. You guys, he's the other one I'm referring to, that a Patreon that does a lot for his community. He's awesome, just like you are. You guys are my favorites. And yeah, so I'm excited. So I haven't seen the videos yet. He's still got them. Going to be sending them back to me here in the next little bit. So I'm excited to see what he's doing, especially with the P90 and the Gibson.
That'll be awesome.
So most of the stuff I play, my guitar teacher, Dave Celentano from Guitar Tricks is awesome. He asked me how many guitars I had one day in front of our group class, which was about this size, maybe 6, 8, 12 people. And I was afraid to admit, but I did succumb to say, well, in February, that month only, I could play a different guitar every day. You wouldn't see the same guitar twice.
Wow.
But a lot of them are crappy guitars and novelty stuff, and not really super good playable guitars. I do have a lot of Jacksons I like. I've got the Charvel I just showed you. My other favorite, besides that 2015 Gibson Les Paul Standard with the Robotune, is a Charvel that is in E-flat tuning, and it's just awesome. It's got a couple aftermarket dip switches, and it's got Seymour Duncans, and every time I play that guitar, I feel, hey, I might get this. I can actually play stuff that I recognize, and I feel like a good player. So I'm really happy about that. I've got 2 PRS SEs. I don't have an American PRS. That was going to be my 50th birthday present, but the wife wanted a nice commercial treadmill for her workout stuff. So my 50th present is a commercial treadmill. That's
there you go. Well, here's a question.
Because you upgraded on Valentine's Day with the Gibson.
That's right.
That's right. Exactly.
Yeah, right.
Paul.
Too late.
Jamie, here's a question and a comment. So here's the question from Jimmy Biter. He's asking a few minutes ago when you're showing the Charvel. Is that the Model 4?
I don't know the model. I'm
Okay.
an idiot when it comes to this stuff. It's got the 3 dip switches.
I think so. Yeah.
I think it is.
I can show it again. I don't know how to differentiate it. I can tell them the serial number. If that is that helpful, Jimmy?
Probably not. Probably not on the serial number. But I'll tell you a funny story as we're going to wrap up here in a second, and it has to do with that guitar when you showed the Kahler tremolo. So see this pick? I'm holding up a guitar pick. That's a Dava guitar pick, right?
Dava right here.
There you go.
I love Dava.
Okay, me too. I've been endorsing the Dava brand since the year 2000, and Dave Story is the fellow who owns Dava picks. And so I'm talking to Dave Story one time, and I think it was just a phone call conversation. I don't think I ever had him. Actually, you know what? I'm trying to think how this whole conversation went down. But anyways, I'm having a conversation with him. We're talking about tremolos. I'm like, oh yeah, I'm a Floyd Rose guy, through and through. And oh yeah, what do you like about the Floyd and blah blah blah. I'm like, oh, this and that. It just stays in tune really good. And I said, not like that freaking Kahler. It's just god awful Kahler. And then the conversation stopped for a second, and it just kind of went dead. I'm like, hello, you still there? And he's like, well, I'm the co-founder of Kahler Tremolos. and if you look up,
Eric.
Yeah, if you look up Kahler, and he's the co-founder of Kahler. And man, I already said it. You know what I mean? So
yeah, can't suck it back in, man.
But he appreciated the fact that I was honest about it. I didn't pull any punches, right? And I'm still endorsed, so something happened. Good. But,
oh wow! Well, the other guy, Wayne, I think is the other probably partner of Kahler, and he's out in Las Vegas because I needed the whammy bar.
Yep.
And so I called the number off the website, and he was the one that answered.
Yeah.
So I'm talking to him for like 45 minutes, and I actually have always loved my Kahler. That was my first Floyd Rose type thing.
Yep.
And so I have always just loved the Kahler. I do have a Eddie Van Halen custom that I bought off eBay for like $500 or $600. and it's got I think it's the FRT 1000, but and I have some other Floyd Rose guitars, but that Kahler, I'm very happy with it. So for me, it stays in tune. I can go 6 months without playing it, pick it up, and it's still in tune.
Oh yeah, it's just a different beast.
I've got the Charvel, I think it's a Model 2, and it's got the Kahler on it also.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Jimmy Bider, send me an email, because Jimmy, I'll send you pictures. I want to find out if it's Model 2, 3, 4 or whatever. I haven't researched it but I know I've seen Jimmy Bider on a lot of the things, so it's good to see you here.
Awesome.
Eric, real quick, my guitar player had a Charvel, and it had this Kahler that it was the weirdest thing. It almost had like a dual rollers where the string would kind of weave in and out of these dual set of just roll. It was just, to me, there were so many moving parts on this thing. It was just ridiculous. And I just remember having to service that thing. It was just, the little wheel rolls would stick at times, and man,
I can't
really see that, but
they had multiple versions of it, and their theory was the more rollers that you can have, the more or less friction you're going to have in binding. Right. So, I mean, it's a great invention. I mean, I was kind of almost born into guitar with some kind of a Floyd Rose type of thing. So I got used to it. Here. But listen, guys, this has been an absolute pleasure. It's amazing how how long we can talk when it comes to gear. And I know the first probably 75% of our discussion was just kind of get to know everybody, which is the coolest part, to be honest with you. And I here in the family, the Broad Stash, not the Broadbent, but the Broad Stash family here in the house, Sandra, myself, and Eric Jr., we're very appreciative of everything that all of you here on the panel do for us as Patreon supporters, and we have several others as well that they couldn't they weren't available tonight, so they were not here. But maybe we're going to be doing this. This is Sandra's idea. We're going to do this once a month, every month, and we can have some recurring guests. As a couple of you guys can join us again. We'll have some new ones and probably have some regular faces. But you are appreciated more than anything. It's so nice to find out how you found us, from Helix Hour and Rocking Dead and EVH and all this stuff, right? So thank you. I know I speak for Sandra when I say this, and I know I say this, I speak for Eric Jr. We appreciate you, and this has been a lot of fun.
Thank you very much, Eric.
Nocturnal Butterfly rules. Nocturnal Butterfly rules.
She does. And for
anybody, I got to be careful with her show when I'm at work, though.
Oh, I know. It's not safe for work.
NSFW.
That's right. It's always good to have an earbud in at work, for sure.
Yeah.
And for those that are just tuning in tonight, we've got a few new faces here. So number 1, 2, thank you for tuning in if you're new here. I know I saw a few like the chat and a few others as well. So if you haven't yet subscribed, just trust me on this one. Go hit that subscribe button right now. And our motto to you that we promise is we'll work just as hard to keep you as a subscriber as we did to get you. And sometimes that sounds a little far-fetched because maybe we didn't do anything to get you as a subscriber, but we are going to work 24/7 to keep you as one. Everyone here is fantastic. I'm going to put some links to all of their YouTube channels in the description after the video tonight. We'll link that up. And we'll look forward to seeing you more. Lots of cool things coming up on Rock Shop Live. And, of course, Helix Hour, wrapping up Season 5 this coming Sunday with Robbie Calvo. So, guys and everyone watching at home, thank you so very much. And here on the panel here, I'm going to say goodbye to you off the air. Don't take off. And a big thank you, huge thank you to Sandra Lee for encouraging a platform like this. And I wouldn't be doing anything that I do on YouTube. So you can thank me all you want, and I'll say thank you, but I'm going to deflect it to Sandra.
That was for Sandra.
There you go. And I'm just saying, honestly, anybody that wants to thank me, I appreciate it, but it's all going to Sandra. It gets deflected like Teflon over to her. She is why I do what I do. And if it was up to her, I would be streaming 7 days a week. But we focus on when we have something good to say, we'll say it. And when we don't have anything to we're not going to sit here and pick our nose. We're going to do something good. It's all because of her. So thanks so much, everybody. And we'll talk to you very, very soon. And until next time, cheers.
Hey, you're still here? Eric Jr. here, reminding you to check out our full lineup of quality merch. Available right now in the Broadstash Boutique. Quality products and fast shipping. Visit broadstash.com today.
Video production services for Rock Shop Live are provided by Design 39 Media. Visit design39media.com for all your website, photography, and video production needs. Microphones for Rock Shop Live are provided by Rode Microphones.